In today's video, we're going to be doing some playing with ruler work and some hand embroidery on a quilt project. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst of Chatterbox Quilts, and today we are going to be just playing and having fun. But we're also going to be doing some practicing at the same time. So that's the best way to work on a quilt project, right? So what I've done is I actually just picked a couple of fat quarters, one for the front and back, got some batting, of course. And then what I wanted to do is I wanted to play with some rulers. I'm actually using 3 different rulers, and I just wanted to get comfortable with them, do a bit of practicing, just have some fun. So let me talk about some of the choices I made here. So this is one of the ones that I was working on. I'm going to work on another one with you today. This one here, the fabric choice was such that I wanted something that had some bright contrasting colors in it, like I have here with these kind of turquoise, and there's the green and the white on the solid navy. I wanted to have lots of open area in here, and I just wanted to have something that would allow the quilting that I'm going to do to show up, the ruler quilting I'm going to do on this project to show up, and also some handwork as well. Now, this is going to be a 2-part video. So part 1, we're talking about the ruler work, and I'm going to show you the rulers I used and how I used them. Again, just playing. So I'm not really trying to be perfect on this at all. It's just a good way to do some practicing. So you can see here I've got some solid lines in the center, so I use just a straight edge ruler here. Then I also have some of these curved lines here, so I'm using another ruler for that, of course, and then some little kind of clamshell ones here. This is a different ruler again. So you can see with this different green thread that I use, just a polyester thread, that it really pops off this navy background, but it matches the green that's already in the fabric. And then I had to do some more, right? And this is where I use some hand embroidery on this quilt project. So again, I'm using some contrasting thread here, some white, some green, and because it's got these little designs on here, I actually added just some really simple hand stitching to some of those designs, and then there's some other little areas instead, or in between, I should say. So part of what's going on here is that it allows me to do additional embellishments with the hand embroidery, allows me to practice those very simple stitches here. And because I have these gaps between my quilting lines, that's a perfect place to put some of these hand embroidery stitches. So in this part, we're focusing on the ruler work, as I mentioned. Next part, part 2, we'll be talking about how I did these hand embroidery stitches and giving you some different ideas there. So at the end, you're going to have a very nice kind of a mini quilt, if you will, that you can either use as a table topper, you can just bind it and use a table topper. Maybe it's a very nice embellished cat blanket. Maybe you're just going to frame it, put it on the wall, put some hanging tabs on it, I should say, put it up on the wall. But what I'm working with today, let me just move that out of the way, is this piece of fabric. So similar, there's a kind of a reddish orange background here. We've got these little white and pink little designs all over the place here. And I've already started doing some work on this using it's kind of a teal thread here, dark navy kind of tealish thread here. Here, I actually used a variegated thread, okay, something I don't work with very often, but why not play with it, right? So that's actually a cotton that I used in there, and then I'm back to the same polyester thread over here, and you can see I've just started some of my hand embroidery in this particular area, okay, which kind of mimics some of the designs in the fabric. So let's start with some of the ruler work, because that's what we're going to look at today, right? So when I started the ruler work here, I actually started, you can see that I've got a line here, so you can use reference lines in your projects. It's a good idea to use them when you're doing ruler work, actually, to give you something to start with, because I'm doing these different straight lines and there's different spacing between them and that. But if I don't start with a straight line, then these can very quickly get off kilter. And I did want them to be straight, in this case, vertically on this piece of fabric. If I wanted to be diagonal, whole different story, okay? So all I did is I took this is actually a chubby crayon, okay, that you can use. Whatever you want that you can use for an erasable marker to mark the center of my fat quarter is what I did. And then I started with that and then moved off onto these other lines and just chose different spacing for them, okay? No rhyme, no reason, okay? And so what I used for that, I'm using Silly Moon rulers today, actually. This is called Edgie 6, okay? It's a 6-inch ruler, straight edge ruler. It has different markings on it. And I just used it, I like this one because it fits in my hand nicely. And because I've already got some lines in here, that I have stitched, I can now decide how far away I want the other lines to be. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn this around because I don't want to get into my hand embroidery. I want to go in this direction. So let me just switch this around. Okay, so here's my last line of stitching that I did. So maybe I want to put another line in here. Maybe I want to continue. Let's put another line in here. Why not, right? So now I can decide which line on the ruler do I want to use. Do I want to put another line of stitching 1/4 inch away? Do I want to do it 1/2, 3/4? What do I want to do? Well, why don't we just do this? Again, just playing, just having fun, okay? No right, no wrong. Love that, don't we? All right, so I've got my machine already loaded up. It's set up for ruler work, and I am just going to come over here. I'm going to do a few things here to get my machine all set up the way I want it for ruler work. There we go. And I'm lining up my ruler along that edge. Along that stitch line there. So the second line in, I've lined up along there. And I'm just going to start, because I can, off the edge here somewhere, okay? So I'm just going to go down, bring up my bobbin thread there. There it is. And we're going to take a few little stitches here before we get started. And the first thing I want to do, okay, is slow down. Okay, that's too fast. And because I'm off my sandwich, I'm not so concerned. But there we go. And now we're going to start moving along and doing some of this ruler straight line stitching. Okay, and then I'm going to stop and reposition my ruler, of course. I'm just going to continue right down to the end. And if I get off a little bit, I can always just angle my ruler over a little bit to get it back on the line there. All right. Cut my thread and I'm done. So now I've got another line in there, okay? So I can just, you know, add as many lines as I want. I am just practicing stitching with my ruler quilting with a straight edge ruler, okay? Straight edge ruler. Right, that's one, okay? That's one ruler. Let's put it aside. Let's look at some of the other ones that I used here as well. And I need to switch thread to do this because I want to continue with that same color thread. And once I've done these, I'm going, which ruler did I use? Well, I can line it back up again here. I can see it was this ruler here, Beanie, 6-2 and not Charming. Okay, so Beanie that we're using there. I'm just going to switch my thread here and then we can continue on. So I've already stitched one line of these like half circles. Okay, this is Beanie 6-2 I'm using, and this can actually make a whole circle. You can go around and then move it to do a whole circle there, and it'll give you a 6-inch circle on the outside and a 2-inch on the inside. But I am not overly concerned with how my next row is going to look. Remember, I'm practicing, okay? Just practicing, having fun. And the ruler has several different lines on it. So what I like to do is I like to figure out where do I want my next row to start, how do I want it to look, and how much higher than the previous line of quilting do I want it to be. And this is where these lines come in handy. So I can take this line here on the ruler and I can line it up with the top, the crest of the previous line of stitching, and I can then just start stitching, right? Sort of. Let's go back and get the machine set up. I just wanted to show you what I'm going to be doing, roughly what I'm going to be doing. All right, so now I'm going to go back here. I'm going to do that again, and I can just place this template anywhere I want. I can start anywhere I want. Okay, what I will do is I will start on the previous line of stitching. Okay, oops. All right. Okay, so I'm going to hold this down. I know you can't see it too well when I have my hand here, but we're just going to go along here. Okay, let's pull that thread back. It's getting in the way here. A very long tail there. Now, I'm getting off a little bit. Oh dear, what do I do? Well, I just keep coming back. Okay, I'm going to stop at the other line, the previous line of stitching. Okay, so I have a little bobble back here. I'll show you that later. If I don't like it, I can take it out. If I don't care, I can leave it in. And I think I can fit one more in here, it looks like. Again, lining up that top line there. All right, so let's see what we've done here. Okay, so I mentioned I have a little bit of a bobble there. If I wanted to, I could take it out. I could fix that, even just with free motion quilting. I could just, you know, go between the two, or I can just leave it because we're just practicing, right? So we've got that going on there with that half circle. And then we have some more that we can work on. We switch things around here. Over on this side. Now on this side, the ruler I'm using is called Charming. Let me bring it out here. Okay, and this actually works really well for charm squares. That's what it's used for. It's great to do continuous curves on charm squares. You can do different designs with it. So that's what it's used for. In this case, I'm using it for sort of a clamshell kind of thing as well. So now I am going to work with Charming here. And I have drawn a line here so I can line up my ruler on it. I'm going to use the top line here on Charming. And I can decide where I want to start here. So let's say I want to start, let's say over here near the edge of my sandwich. Bring up my bobbin thread and we'll lock off a few stitches here. Okay, I'll get my ruler up there, line everything up again, and here we go. All right, we got one done. Now we'll line up again that top line here on my marked line. And let's see if we can get one more full one in for sure. And probably part of one in here. We'll just do a little bit here at the end here. All right. Okay, so here's what we get from Charming. You can see what that looks like. There, looks very nice on there. So that is part one, using different rulers, 3 different rulers. Those are from Silly Moon Quilting Company. If you're not familiar with them, check up above or in the description below because I'll put a link for them. They have other rulers too. And you want to make sure that you come back to see part 2 as well. Now, I've talked about these different rulers I've used, a little bit of ruler quilting. I haven't gone into a lot of detail, and if you're not familiar with ruler quilting, don't worry, I got you covered. Check out this video that has all the helpful information that you need. And for more helpful quilting information, be sure to go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com. quilts.com.